All right, everybody, happy June 22nd. Today is Saturday, and in this video, I'm going to go over what took place in the market this past week. To digest what happened with where we are headed now, we're going to go through ES and NQ. But to recap what I've been discussing in prior videos, go check those out, is I think we're headed towards a pretty good market correction or rebalance. And I'm pretty sure based off what we've seen in NQ right here on the daily chart, as well as ES on the daily chart, we've got some clear sell signals. I mean, we've had 1, 2, 3 candles of sort of indecision here on ES. But let's start with the NQ. And when we're looking specifically at these daily candles, they're tightening up. We had a strong sort of sell-off candle. We pushed above. We either tried to test these highs or grab some liquidity to push ourselves lower so we can generate more liquidity at the top. So with that being said, we'll start with NQ. The first thing I'm looking at here on the EMAs is even if we turn the EMAs off, we closed below VWAP. And that is indicative for me of where this market is likely headed. And again, if you go through our recent videos, when we're drawing these areas where things could potentially rebalance, you have a strong fair, quote unquote, fair value gap there, whatever you want to call it. But I still think this is the most interesting zone to watch, area of importance, whatever you want to call it, on the NQ, because we had a strong push down and then the buyers absolutely ripped right through it, retested, and we continued higher. So I'm very interested in this zone. Now, mind you, when the market's hunting these quote-unquote fair value gaps, it's generally going to want to test the lower end first before it tests the higher fair value gap. So if we draw the Fibonacci retracements, one thing that is incredibly interesting is when we take the low of the market here back in April, so to speak, where we had the clear pivot low before the move up, the 61% retracement and or this golden pocket zone that everyone likes to talk about is smack dab here. But what do we have just below? This fair value gap, which could get retested. So that is something that I want to watch pretty closely here. But even if we drug everything up to this pivot low, which is where we came down, and then we started our second leg up, between 61 and 50 is this zone again. So I am very, very interested in this zone around the 19,000s. But if we want to keep moving up to our pivot lows, 38 right here. So that's something that I'm watching more closely to see what's going to happen. But again, guys, it is not our job to predict or anticipate where the market is going to go, but more so react to it. So our likely retest points are going to be down to here, or we're going to push further down here, and then we're going to begin those legs up. Because again, as we're coming through the summertime, through the fall, and then the Santa Claus rush, I think we run a very strong chance of pushing down and then coming back up. I would not be surprised if we hit 21,000 this year. Just because it's an election year, you guys know who is running for president here in the States. So very, very interesting. So let's continue. I want to leave our zones up that we drew for these imbalances, fair value gaps, whatever the hell you want to call them. I don't care, but I think these are interesting to have with our charts going. So let's look at the 4 hour here, just our typical top-down analysis that we're going to run. And again, I think we are in a strong area of retracement. Now, mind you, is this a double bottom? Because we did have a strong push up on this 4 hour here to engulf this bearish candle, but I'm still not convinced. We closed below VWAP on the daily candle, and we still have probably one more daily candle left to tell us to determine where this market's going to go. We had some indecision, a push lower. We had a swing low, but we did not have a higher, we had a lower high. So I'm still not bullish on this. And as we look at the top here, one thing I like to see, we have this right here. So I think we have more highs at the top for liquidity that could get rated to push us lower. If we get this high again, I still think we would see some continuation up, but I don't think that's going to happen. I think we're going to retest here and push ourselves down to these areas of importance that I just mentioned. So even on the 4-hour, we have a lot of seller imbalance up here. I mean, we just had straight push down for, what is this, almost 8 hours, right? Push came up again, but we just closed lower smack dab. I mean, we pretty much engulfed this buyer push up. So I think we still have more downside risk to balance back down to the 1 hour. And then as we're looking at these zones, we can clearly tell that buyers tried to come into this zone and they just simply can't get it done. And you'll still notice we have lots and lots of sellers up here with other orders that I'm sure hanging out just to get filled. And when I'm looking at this, we're just in, Chop City, so to speak. We do have some support here, but I'm still not bullish on this because the sellers just wipe out every single rally. Push up, push down, rally up, strong rally up. Sellers met them right at the door at this 20,069 level, just above the 50 psych level, and we pushed it down. We did close above VWAP on the 1 hour, but again, still not bullish on this with what the 1 hour is showing me. Let's go down to let's go down to the 15 minute here. And just looking at it, I'm, again, not bullish. We're in a clear downtrend. So if we want to draw from the high, I mean, it would make complete and total sense to look at it this way. So when we're on the 15 minute, zooming in, these buyer candles are just not aggressive enough for me to want to see anything that's going to make me flip my bias. But again, guys, it is not about what you think is going to happen or what you feel is going to happen. It's more about what happens and how you react to it. I like this. I really like this right here. Push up with a fair value gap, and then we just smashed it. So more sell side orders to give us this push down. We'll see. Let's go to the 30 minute. I skipped over that one. More of the same though. So I think this is fair to look at on NQ with us saying, okay, we're likely to retest this upper zone here. Maybe we test the 2100 psych level, mess around 2100-ish. I don't think we hit 2150. I think we're going to come up and we're going to continue to push down. I really think we need to rebalance the 19,600 level before we have any sort of a bullish flip on the narrative. So I think we're going to push down here. But again, guys, this is just my analysis. I have no idea what I'm talking about. Didn't go to school for it. So by no means am I an expert, but this is what I'm watching for NQ. So let's switch to ES here on the daily chart. We are still above. We closed above VWAP, but barely. So when just leaving the VWAP on here, we have a clear, in my opinion, and I love doji candles for this reason, telling you what's going to happen in the market before it does within reason, clear sell signal. And that is evident. We were unable to get above the doji candle, grab the liquidity, and push down, much like NQ that we just reviewed. So I think we get one more red candle out of this. We're going to balance and just rip to the downside. But I will say, I don't see a lot of imbalance in ES like I do in NQ. Now, mind you, two different tickers, they move incredibly different. I used to trade ES exclusively, but I just could not deal with the absolute turtle pace that it ran through. So when I don't look at this too much, but one thing that I see clear here was an area of resistance that flipped to support. So resistance here, support here with a strong push up. I like that. But let's look at the Fibonacci retracements. Clear pivot low, right up to the high. And if we're looking at it, the golden pocket zone puts us right where we need to be with the imbalances that are present on the chart. So let's look at them. I'm just going to close this down real quick. I like to use rectangles to draw these, but this is interesting here. We saw a nice push up, but this has not been touched. And we had a fair value gap get almost two fair value gaps, one to get pushed up. So I definitely don't think we would push down here to the liquidity that's just chilling down at the below the 5100 level. I don't think that's going to happen. I think we would see a bounce long before then. possibly right below the 5,400 level. But again, when we're looking at the Fibonacci retracements, just below the 61 level brings us to that fair value gap, but I'm not convinced we would push that much lower. I think it would take a pretty tough event for that to happen. I think the main driver that we're going to look at is going to be from what was resistance here. So let's draw the rectangle from here all the way over, which now acts as support. So this is really interesting because buyers came up, sellers could not break below, and then we just ripped ourselves back up. So let's jump down into the 240 minute. This would make sense for us. Again, I just mentioned the 5,400 level to see some resistance here that is going to act as support. I would like to see somewhat of a double bottom on this before we continue ourselves up. But again, and ES is not my bread and butter, so I would be curious to see what you guys think. I believe that there are multiple areas of quote unquote support where ES could find its legs to push itself up. Right about here is interesting as well. Dip below this, grab some of this liquidity that's sitting right here at the 5460, bring itself back up. So definitely interesting here on ES. A lot more sideways action than you would see in NQ, for example. So we had our sideways leg up, sideways leg up, sideways leg up. So you had 1, 2, 3, almost 4 areas of consolidation before the market pushed itself up. And I think now we're going to consolidate and start to move ourselves lower to make sure we're going to accept these lower levels before we bring ourselves further into the market. And as the year rolls on, I think we're going to continue to head towards all-time highs. So guys, we are just on the cusp of 1,000 subscribers. It would mean a lot to me if you guys could subscribe. And, share with your friends. Let me know what your guys' thoughts are down in the comments. Again, I'm no whiz. Please do your own research, but this is what I'm watching as we come into the last week of June. Pretty crazy. So I'll see you guys in the next video. Thanks so much.